Oh. Hey, Dennis, good to see you. Oh, good morning. Welcome to Byron Schrock's part of the world. Thanks for having us, Byron. Oh, my goodness. It is. You know, we're almost 10 years old. And this year, this year is going to be one heck of a ride. And what's important, really important, is we enjoy the ride. We, when we first started, I remember taking, oh yeah, please sit down. Oh, and by the way, my partner Mike sends his love, from California. He wishes he could be here this weekend. Of course, normally, it'd be both he and I getting out of the helicopter together. But he's not here this weekend with us, but he does send his love. And, so everybody give a shout out to Mike, hey. And so, one of the books I'd read, that had really changed my life, was, Tony Robbins, right? And he wrote his book, Awaken the Giant Within. And, I was in the Veterans Hospital in Dallas, and I had my right kidney removed. And when I was in that hospital bed, I was in there for like a week, and I was thinking, one day I'm going to be in here for something more serious, and I might not, get out of here. And so, it's the wee hours of the night, and visiting hours. They don't, let people come in, and you're there by yourself, and it's kind of cold and dark, a little lonely, a little scary. And I was just thinking, one day I might be in this hospital, with something more serious, and might not get out of here. So the question becomes not, am I going to die? Maybe not right now, maybe not today, but one day in the future. So the question becomes, am I going to live? And, what does living look like? What does that mean? And for me, what I envisioned, way back then, this is going back, really over 20 years ago. And what I envisioned back then, was this, When we really just stop and think about this, we've got something truly unique. We've got something truly special. And, I came out of that hospital, and, I read the book, Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. And it said, write down, what do you want? Why do you want it? How are you going to get it? And how long is it going to take you to get it? And it says, stop reading right now, close the book, go write this down. And so what I wrote down on a, 5x8 index card that I thought would take me 10 years to do with my job mindset. And I would have been happy if it took me 10 years to accomplish the goals that I'd written down. I was able to do in 10 months because of network marketing. And so when you go and you talk to your friends and you go and talk to your family and they don't know who we are and why we exist, they're in that same mindset. They're thinking with the job mindset they've had all these years. And all of a sudden we come along with something big, and we're thinking big, and we're thinking long term. So you think big, you speak big. In the beginning was the Word. And we speak things into reality. What are you speaking into reality? And either God's either talking or he's bowling. You know, yeah, thy will be done. I'll tell you this. We weren't here to think small, talk small, and be small. And I'll tell you this, we weren't here to be alone either. You know, we're here to come together. And you saw it on the screen. You see it right here. United. One team, one dream. Look at all of us that have come together from around the world. And we know what that means. You know, y'all are doing this. And y'all are doing this because it was a part of the idea. And the leadership embraced it. The way our leadership has worked together to travel around the world together in each other's markets and play team with one another. I mean, it really is a beautiful thing. I've never seen it anywhere else, never heard of it anywhere else. I'm telling you, our company, it's special, man. It's great. And so when I read that book, Tony Robbins, he talked about flying over the arena. He was doing a big event, and he was in a helicopter, and he's doing and there's all this traffic on the freeway, and he's like, oh no, all these people are going to be late for my event. They're going to get stuck in traffic. And as he got closer and closer and closer, he realized, wow, all these people are there for my event, you know? And when I pulled in today, and there's lines wrapped around the block. And you know, thank you so much for caring so much to wait in those kind of lines. You know, travel here, be here, wait in those kind of lines. You know, I hate lines. And you know how the laws are sometimes. I mean, I said, look, I don't worry about it, you know, let them in. You know, let them in, you know. And I think they're more worried about their building than me, you know what I mean? I was like, let them in. And so I didn't plan the helicopter thing myself, you know. We've got a great team of people that put these events together. And I kind of go along with the ride. In the Marine Corps, they call those flying coffins. But I want to talk to you about courage and humility. Because so much of our leadership, when we first started, there was no crystal ball. There was no guarantee that we'd be here 10 years from now. And we're a growing and thriving company. But again, what's most important, is how we treat each other, that we are one team, one dream, the way we're treating each other. Do we enjoy working with one another? And so I want to talk about courage and humility. So courage, it takes this courage for you to join us. Even 10 years later, a lot of people that are joining you, it takes that courage for them to have faith and step in with you. And then as you plug into this kind of a system, and we're one of the few companies that has this quality, and I will put our leadership up against any company of any kind, anywhere, on any planet, I mean, the foundation of our company is our leadership. And when you have leadership on the rise, your company is on the rise. And a rising tide raises all boats. And so always love on your leaders and respect your leaders, because they really have paved the way for you. They really have set the foundation. Please give it up. The next time I see them all will be on the RMD and NMG trips in Hawaii. But let's stop and take a minute and really appreciate the leaders that have got us to this 10-year mark. I don't know if y'all watch the news. And I don't just mean, here in America, but the worldwide news and this worldwide economy. And there's all this uncertainty that's out there. And there, historically, there's always been a certain amount of uncertainty. But what always gives me confidence and excitement for the future is our foundation of leadership and our friendship. When we're as tight as we are, when we're as bonded as we are, I don't know what's going to come in the future. But I have faith that we are going to be able to handle whatever comes along. Yeah? So I believe we can rise to whatever challenge comes. So that's courage. And as you get on this path and you grow and you grow and you grow, and all of a sudden you start to achieve and you start to achieve, the request is, celebrate, but always stay humble too. Okay? Because this becomes a part of not only who we are, but how we are. And, so I remember when we first came up with, you should be here. And that's fun. And we know what we mean, especially we're saying it to each other. You should be here. But I'm going to ask you also to do this. You should be here, you should be here, you should be here. You see the difference between this? You should, and this? You need to do this. You need to be here. You need to. No, that's not the spirit. That's not the intent is you should be here. Man, wow, this is so beautiful. This is so awesome. You should be here, man. Really, come on, you should be here. That's how I felt when I was in the Marine Corps, and I saved up all my money, and I saved up all my leave days, and I went to Europe, and I'm going all over Europe. And man, I didn't have the money to go in these museums and everything. I was looking at a book of all the artwork that's in the museum, but I couldn't actually afford to go in the museum and stuff. And I went to all these churches, and I'm sleeping on all these beaches. I'm sleeping outside and entry foyers and rooftops and all this. And man, that's not travel. That's not a dream trip, It was good. If you're gonna, I'd recommend you travel anyway. So if that's the way you got to do it, do it. But certainly not a dream trip. And then, but there were so many times where I'm looking at I'm in the Swiss Alps, and it's just beautiful. And the sunset or something. And that's what I was feeling. I was enjoying it, and at the same time, I was missing people. My wife, I'd like to say hi to my wife and my daughter, So now when I travel, it's great, to be there with my wife and my daughter. And then, but friends, oh my gosh, when I reflect back over all the years and all the silly, goofy times we've had together. You know, so my nature is blue, yellow, right? So have a lot of fun, a lot of caring, and you know, I've also had to grow my red, green. But you know, you always want to partner with your weakness. You know, grow your weaknesses to the point that you can, but partner with your weakness. And so when we talk about, you know, being united, and we talk about the color of joy, yeah, you know, what are you? Red, blue, yellow, green? It, all right, humility. There's not one better than the other. Reds. Look, you understand, it takes all of us, right? It really takes all of us to make this thing just flow. And so whoever you are, whoever God made you to be, you know, fantastic. You know, you're great just the way you are, you know? And so going forward into our future, which we've already done and which I hope we continue to do, the nature of our company is, yes, let's continue to be a company where we have a lot of courage. We're going to go out there and accomplish great things. You know, records were made to be. So, again, if we're the biggest, if we're the fastest, you know, fantastic. If we're not, if we get there one day, hey, we enjoyed the ride, you know. But the way we're going to get there and the way we're going to stay there, that's what's important. And in my main job, you know, there's founder, there's CVO, but my main number one job is to be a good steward. A good steward of this company, you know, into the future. When you go and you look at a lot of big companies, you know, hopefully being founder-led, historically it does seem to matter a bit. And I don't consider myself the only one, you know, that was there in the beginning. It really has been this team of leaders. And so I look for ways to continue to strengthen the bond between the field force and between the corporate office. And I think that if you talk to your upline leaders, they will tell you there's more synergy. We're more united than ever before. And it's crazy. You know, I always heard for years, like, you know, how marriages just grow stronger and stronger and stronger with time. You know, you're like, how? Y'all already know everything about each other or something, right? But that's how it works. You know, and that's how this marriage has worked, you know, between us and the field. Just some way, somehow, all these years together, we just keep growing stronger and stronger and stronger. And so the main theme that I ask of our staff, and the main theme that I ask of our field leadership, is that we always maintain a mentality, an attitude of servant leadership. So we're here to really, in a way, serve, you know, your dream. You're buying into the vision, and we're really here to serve your dream. And you know we're human, right? So it's totally our intention. We care about you. We love you. We want to build the best company we can build. And sometimes along the ways, we make mistakes. We let you down in some ways, and we don't like that. We care. If we let you down ever, we care. And so whatever that might look like, I don't know. I mean, I just hope that you maintain this understanding and this belief that you know that we care. I mean, when you go out there and you put your name on the line and your reputation on the line, your belief on the line, your hopes, your dreams, you know, that's big. It's important. And so, you know, after a weekend like this, you see where we're at, you see where we're going, you know, you're trusting in us. And, you know, of course, we're trusting in you. And it's important that we just know of each other that we all care. You know, that we're always putting the marriage first. It's not just the corporate office and it's not just you, it's us. It's we. So, this is going to be just a year where you're going to see so much development roll out that's been going on for literally years behind the scenes. And as good as we're doing and what you see right now, I believe it's only about 10 or 20% of what's coming. And along the way, we've had to tell you through the years, don't wish it was easier, you know, wish you were better. You know, come to the events, come to the trainings, because I think it's easy for people around the world to get into WorldVentures, but can we agree that when you come to these events, this is kind of where WorldVentures gets into you? And you'll only perform to the level of your belief. And when you come to these events, don't you believe more? Don't you feel more energized? And of course, it's just because of what you're witnessing firsthand and the relationships that you're building together, being with one another, in person, on breaks. I don't think that ever goes away. That's what I love, you know, about network marketing. If you said, Wayne, you know, you can be a big businessman and own a travel company and all this, you know, it just doesn't interest me. What interests me, what I like, what I love is that we pay out more than half of everything that comes in to you all. You know, I love that and the difference that it makes in your life with a fun product. So, yeah, there's really nothing out there to compare ourselves to. Nobody is doing what we're doing. And I think on the surface, we make it look easy. On the surface, we're like that duck, you know, but underneath, man, woo, those little legs are going. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And so in the future, there probably will be competition. Competition that tries to copy us in the United States and competition that tries to copy us internationally. But they don't realize, they don't realize just all the things that have to happen for it to work. And through the years, it's been that way. But so obviously the market's big enough, the world's big enough that there could be, but there's just not. And so, you know, let's celebrate the fact that, hey, fantastic, we're still in this blue ocean strategy. But if competition was ever to come along into our ocean, I'm telling you, boom, we're gone. It's like we're in a whole nether ocean now all by ourselves again, you know what I mean? That's this pivotal year you're a part of. All of a sudden you're going to be like, wow, you know. And so, but we have to do it together. My whole point is, you know, I can't do it without the team. I can't do it without these friends and these leaders that have been so supportive. They've always, you know, kept me in their prayers. I'm going to ask you to keep me in your prayers. I feel keep the company in your prayers. Let's keep each other. Let's pray for each other. Because this is us, and this is our world. And I know how many of you would just love to be doing this full time. All right. Well, get in, get sold, and then go sell. Don't just get people in. Get them in, get them sold, and then have them go sell. And there's a lot here to be sold on. So who is helping us do this? Well, you know, recently we announced that Dan Stamen is now our CEO once again. And this goes to that presence of leadership. Having leadership on the ground, in the office, and Dan is just a great businessman. He's a pro networker. He just has an impeccable reputation. He's been a network marketing professional for 32 years. He looks 32 years old. That's what being that's, you know, when you're a networker, that's all you've ever done for your life. I guess it keeps you young. But you know, we have so much confidence in him inside the office and inside the field, and he's there, and he's been on the inside of so many of the biggest companies out there. You know, he started with Herbalife when they were very first beginning and all this. He's been a part of some big companies. The last of which was Prepaid Legal, and for those of you who don't know, he had over 660,000 members in his organization. Really big, right? Sold that for 7 years advance commissions to a guy worth $500 million. He did not need to work. And I convinced him, I said, look, you're selling a membership that really in a way you hope you never use. You know, it means you're suing somebody or you're being sued. It could be negative, you know. I mean, you need it. But and they're a good company. But then our membership, it's a membership, you want to use it as much as you can. And so where we're going in the future that's requiring so much of our leadership right now and our time is we're building you a product that you can use more often, locally, closer to home, that brings you this fun experience and the memories. Because at our essence, that's really who we are. We're the company, and our product is helping you achieve those peak life experiences, those memories. And to me, that's what you take to heaven. You can take that with you. Your friendships, your memories. And of all the success I've ever had and all the things I've ever gotten, the best stuff I've ever gotten is just my friendship with you all, the memories I've created with you all.